Yo, what is up guys and welcome back to the channel. Today we've got another review on the What If Pepe. We're going to be going through the card, his detail stats, clips and summary. Before we get into all that, if I could ask you guys to please hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, hit that bell so you know when I upload, and comment down below what your thoughts are on this card. And without further ado, let's get into the video. So guys, this is the team that I played Pepe in. Played him in the 4-2-3-1, of course, in that centre back slot. Linked him in. And first impressions of this card, guys, very similar in playstyle to that Marcelo card that was released last week. Lacking in pace, but very solid defensively, and really does do a good job in terms of how he defends. Without further ado though, let's just get into the card itself. Pepe 6'2", medium-high work rate, is right-footed, 2-star and 3-star weak foot. So guys, again, as a centre back, I would prefer another star on the weak foot, but overall, I think this is manageable with the 3-star weak foot. I don't think that it's too much of an issue, especially when you're moving with him as well. You tend to be able to cover a lot of ground very quickly, and passing the ball out, I generally just try to keep it simple. In terms of the chemistry style, I just gave him the shadow. The speed and the defending are the two most important factors for me on this card. He needs to be able to do both for me, so that's where I focused my attention on this card towards. In terms of the key attributes, guys, the key pros of this card, the physicality is phenomenal. 93 jumping, 87 stamina, 88 strength, 96 aggression, all fantastic stats. And his ability to really get stuck in was what I loved about this card. Blocking shots, getting in the way of things, just doing his general level best to be as disruptive as he could be. His defensive stats also all very good across the board with a decent level of composure. So I like that as well about this player. He was able to do a lot in that defensive capability for me. His passing is okay. So where I did compare him to Marcelo before, I think this Marcelo, of course, does have passing over him, but this Pepe does have okay passing. In terms of the cons, guys, his agility is a little lacking. He doesn't move as freely as you would like, of course. His pace is really lacking as well, as previously mentioned, so he definitely does need a boost to that. And with the boost as well, even with a chemistry style on him, I think he may still struggle in terms of pace against those elite level strikers. But overall, guys, I think this card really does play to his strengths, which is if you have a sweeper in behind him and let him be the aggressor, let him be the one that's on the front foot attacking the ball and trying to stop attacks higher up the pitch, then that's really how you'll get the best out of this card. In terms of the player traits, you've of course got dives and tackles, which I'm not a big fan of, and the leadership trait, but otherwise no other traits to speak of with this card. So without further ado, having covered all of that, let's get into some of the clips that I got with him. So guys, getting into some of Pepe's clips, and what you guys are going to see is his general defensive ability and his general disruptiveness in that defense and being able to stop opponent attacks and how aggressive he is. Now that's something I want to get into straight away with you guys, is his aggressiveness. And guys, I often played with this defender, with this Pepe on the front foot, often going at strikers and wingers with him, just because one, he's got a decent size, his stride length is pretty good, so he is able to get to the strikers eventually, especially with a bit of a speed boost. But overall, guys, as well, it's the best way to play with this card is to be super aggressive with him. As you guys can see, every time you go out and try and hunt down the ball, he does generally come out with it if you've positioned yourself well, and that can't always be said for all centre backs, and I do think his aggression plays a huge part in how well this card wins the ball. He does very well with the ball in most situations, especially when he's trying to defend it, and then just play a simple pass out, which leads me on to the first con of this card, guys, which is his passing. Now, I do think that he has a lot of similarities to Boateng, Todibo, and Marcelo, but the one thing this Pepe does lack beneath all three of those is his passing. He really does struggle in terms of the passing department. I would recommend keeping it to the short passes, those 10 to 15 yard passes, or maybe the max of your range with this card. I don't think that overall he can manage a lot more than that. And guys, that's as we get further into the game and the stage of the game that we're getting into, I do feel like centre backs need to be able to pass the ball now and need to be a bit more technical. Now, with the boost coming in, he will go to 80 plus in both passing stat categories. So that's something to bear in mind as well, is that if Porto do keep a clean sheet, which is very likely considering how dominant they are in Liga NOS a lot of the time, it's perfectly plausible that this card could end up with 80 plus passing on both of those stats. However, guys, he does still lack a little bit in that agility department to bring around that technical proficiency to a level where you would be happy putting this guy in your defense. Getting into his defending, guys, and although we've talked about his aggression and his physicality, his defending is something that does need to be discussed separately because it is very good in and of its own stat. I think his tackling is very strong, very clean as well, and although he does have the dives into tackles trait, which did lead me to think he was going to give away a couple of penalties, He didn't actually give away that many fouls for me, guys. He did very well in general for me, intercepting the ball, getting in the way of the passes. His defensive awareness is fantastic as well. So he often positions himself very well in that defense too, just to cause a disruption and create an opportunity for you to steal the ball away from your opponents. Sometimes, guys, you will notice that these clips are a bit longer too, and in this final clip, you're going to see again more of the same. Great defending as per usual. So guys, getting into this Pepe card here, 57k on the PlayStation, 49 on the Xbox, and 65 on the PC. We won't be doing a price comparison, guys, because I still think this has a bit to fall before it does settle on the market. So we will do that going forward with the other reviews coming out either tomorrow or the day after that. In terms of the key stats, guys, of course, we already discussed this. His physicality and defending are the key places where you need to look to see where this card's strengths are, and his composure and reactions are pretty good as well, which is all nice to have in a centre-back. Unfortunately, his passing does let him down a little bit. That speed and that agility as well is a little low, so I would like that to be a little better. It will be improved slightly with the boost, but that might be somewhere for you guys to focus when you do want to improve this card. If you did want to improve this card, I did originally put a shadow on him, and that's what it does to the card. It brings his pace up to an okay level, defending goes to an elite level, but overall, guys, I would say that maybe you could focus on other stuff, and Anchor would do that for his physicality. I'm thinking more along the lines of, again, an engine card. It does a little bit for his pace, not exactly the best, but it does help out his dribbling and passing a bunch, and being able to play out with this card as well, maybe where you get the biggest success, because he is so aggressive on the front foot. When he does win that ball back, you do want to be able to play the ball out rather than having to play a simple 2-yard pass every time. In terms of similar players, guys, I do liken him to that What If Marcelo that came out last week. Unfortunately, he is not on the list that I can see further down here. That's where he is there. I do liken him a little bit to that card. Overall, guys, I would say he's not very similar to any of these guys here. That Koscielny is another good shout, but I think Pepe has a very, very big build in terms of how he plays. Very similar in a way to Todibo, Boateng, and again Marcelo. Very strong, solid, big build, and that allows him to really bully attackers around and get his body in the way of a lot of these shots too. Finally, guys, in terms of the linkability, of course, being from Liga NOS and in the Porto team, you've got perfect links to all of these guys here. You've of course got strong links to a bunch of Portuguese icons and Portuguese players in that league, as well as other Porto players in there too. Overall, guys, I think this card's linkability is okay, and especially when you go to the weak links as well, you of course got other players like Ronaldo, Fernandes, Ruben Neves, of course, who has recently just come out, and other players as well as we get down the list. Ruben Diaz, Bernardo Silva, Joao Felix, Andre Silva. So many options with this card, so it really does have nice linkability in there too. Which brings me on to my final recommendation, guys. The reason for this card not being so high, again, there's a few factors here. Of course, the weak foot and the skill moves will be one reason why. The linkability in terms of putting him out from the Portuguese league into a hybrid will, of course, help make this a bit of a struggle for you guys. I do think this card it will come down a little further. I think around the 50k mark, I think he will settle towards the end of the week, maybe even lower, maybe at the 45 or 40k mark. But I think 50k, and I think that's a fair price for him, guys. This is one of the better centre backs in the Liga NOS as well, so you're able to pick up a nice card for all you guys that do build a team with that league in it, and he's okay to use, guys. He will do a job for you. Just please do bear in mind that I would recommend playing a faster centre back next to him, just to cover him and enable him to be the aggressor in your team, especially in that defence. When he steps out, he does really well, but occasionally when he does miss the ball, you do need someone to sweep in behind him and help him out. Hope you guys did enjoy this review. If you did, please do smash that like button. Until next time, I will see you all in a bit.